Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get
Every
into
car
it.
owner, probably, at least once in his life, faced a situation when in the cold seasons of the year the car refuses to start, even if the vehicle is in perfect working order and the downtime was short in time. The reasons for such a precedent may be a weak battery charge or rapid cooling of the engine at low temperatures outside. If the first problem can be eliminated by elementary replacement of the battery with a more reliable and capacitive element, not every motorist knows how to cope with the second problem. This problem has recently been actively fought by means of specific motor insulation by means of automobile blankets, which are presented in a decent assortment on the market of auto goods. In this article, we will tell you what is a car blanket for the engine, the relevance of its operation in winter, and the negative aspects of the use of the insulating element, as well as consider the technology of manufacturing heat protection for the motor, the nuances of choosing products of this category for your vehicle, the need for a car blanket, and the peculiarities of its operation. To understand what role the auto blanket for the motor performs in winter, it is not necessary to be a professional mechanic. It is enough to know the basics of the functioning of the unit. In severe frost, the engine for several hours manages to cool down to a critical temperature, and in parallel cools down an auto oil, which entails an increase in its density. As a result of these processes, from the technological point of view, the procedure of starting the power unit is aggravated, which provokes its operation under a significant load. A car blanket is a special insulator for the engine, which allows you to extend the cooling period of the unit. Car blankets are divided by manufacturers into two basic categories: stationary, which are mounted on the inside of the hood and are not removed during the cold season. Removable is a blanket that covers the engine compartment after stopping the car. Its operation is less convenient, as it is required every time you start the car to remove it from the underhood space to avoid damage to rotating parts. Among the strengths of this product, experts emphasize the following points. Auto blanket allows you to extend the cooling of the underhood space for several hours, while the period for which the manufacturer guarantees the prolongation of cooling depends on the manufacturing technology and materials used in production. The result of insulation is a decrease in the warm-up time of the car, which is reflected in the consumption of fuel resources in the direction of savings. The insulator reduces the number of cold starts of the engine during the day, which is reflected in the loads, subsequently, operation. Without significant loads allows to protect the machine from rapid wear, and, consequently, to extend its operational life. Some skeptics argue that in bitter cold no blanket can protect the underhood space from cooling, even when the car is parked for about 8 hours of the working day, and it is pointless to talk about longer downtime. A quality blanket, although it will not protect from cooling of metal components of the engine for such a long period, however, will guarantee a longer period of oil cooling, which will positively affect the start of the car. Technology of auto blanket manufacturing. Auto blanket is an accessory that is installed under the hood of the car, works in critical and dangerous conditions, with high temperatures and in close proximity to rotating parts. So in its manufacture, manufacturers must adhere to certain requirements. Use only heat-resistant and fire-resistant materials in the production of goods. The temperature of the motor is more than 100 degrees Celsius, which, if you use low-quality materials, is dangerous fire. The thermal conductivity of the materials included in the blanket should be minimized, which will ensure a longer period of heat retention in the underhood space. Resistant to aggressive automotive fluids. Electrically conductive materials are strictly forbidden to use in order to avoid short circuits. Use of environmentally safe substances. Under the influence of temperatures, unsafe components through the air ducts can enter the cabin and harm the health of the driver and passengers. Read also, the best car alarm systems with feedback. The materials that meet the requirements are fiberglass cloth and mullite silica cloth, which should act as base substances for the manufacture of auto blankets. These substances can withstand high temperatures and are used in the design of blast furnaces, which guarantees their heat resistance and safety. Some car owners wonder whether the blanket, after seasonal use, can be reused in the car, washed, in order to clean the accumulation. Manufacturers recommend removing the blanket at the end of the season, categorically prohibiting its washing. Before storage, it can be cleaned by dry methods, without the use of water. The operating period of the blanket is often indicated by manufacturers on the packaging. In the off-season and summer, it should be stored in the factory packaging or in any bag, in a warm and dry place. Such precautions will allow you to preserve its operational properties for a long period. Disadvantages of insulating the internal combustion engine. Auto blanket, as a product for the protection of the motor, has both adherents and opponents of its operation. Among the main disadvantages of car owners clogging of the underhood space with microparticles of fiberglass and other components of the blanket. The presence of the probability of detachment of the blanket, with the danger of its ingress into the moving elements of the underhood space with all the ensuing consequences. Possibility of fire of the insulation at strong heating of the engine. All the described disadvantages from the practical side are weighty, however, in most cases are explained by the irrational choice of auto blanket of inadequate quality from an inexpensive category of products. Choosing a blanket on the engine of the car, it is important to rationally approach the study of its composition and technological features, to give preference to buying insulation exclusively in certified stores. The correct approach to the selection of goods will avoid unpleasant precedents in its operation. Specifics of selection of auto blanket and its price policy. The price of a car blanket for the engine of the vehicle depends on many nuances that the car owner should take into account when making a choice. As already mentioned, a low-quality product can fail to meet the buyer's expectations in terms of functionality, cause serious trouble, cause damage to property. The most rational option would be to make a selection by quality characteristics. Properties determine the main material, acting as a heater. Most car owners nowadays give preference to blankets made of felt. This material significantly exceeds the thermal resistance of analog synthetic products. Synthetic-based insulators are most often recommended to car owners who operate the car in moderate climatic conditions with small temperature fluctuations and the absence of severe frosts. The price policy of auto blankets starts from 1,500 and can reach 4,000 rubles and sometimes more. The cost is predetermined by the size of the blanket, the material of manufacture, the prestige and reliability of the manufacturer. The most popular products in the present time are accessories made on the basis of the so-called basalt fiber, which is excellent thermal insulation qualities, guaranteeing temperature retention of the unit about 4 hours at significant frosts, while oil will keep the temperature up to 10 hours. The price of such a blanket will vary from 2 to 5,000 rubles. Read also, rating of popular battery testers for cars when choosing an insulator for their car. Professionals and experienced car owners recommend buying products designed for a specific brand of car, if there is such an opportunity. Universal insulators also cope well with their task, however, are characterized by complicated installation, which provides for the possibility of making a mistake during installation, which can cause unpredictable problem situations. Nowadays, it is also possible to meet insulators on sale, which are equipped with elements of electric heating. This option is suitable only for those car owners who plan to leave the car in places where there is access to the power grid. Natural thermal insulation of such products is at an extremely low level. Accordingly, car owners who live and operate the car in conditions where there are rarely sharp temperature changes and critical minus values will be enough to buy a synthetic blanket, and for drivers who live in harsh climatic conditions it is better to buy a more heat-resistant felt accessory. Store auto blanket or self-made. What is better? Auto blanket of decent quality belongs to the category of inexpensive accessories, so often car owners try to save money on its purchase. Often for this purpose, drivers use their own variants of insulation of the power unit for winter, which is much cheaper. It is really easy to make a blanket with your own hands. If there are skills of technical interaction with vehicles, however, such a solution has controversial benefits. Self-made blanket, even from non-combustible materials, for example, from felt, carries a threat in the process of operation on the Homemade accessories accumulate microparticles of motor oil, gasoline, and other working fluids, which can become a cause of ignition, which has the prospect of growing into a fire with absolute destruction of the car or its partial damage. If there is an extreme necessity, when there is no possibility to buy a trustworthy product at the market or in a store, then experts advise to make auto blankets by hand according to special technology and from reliable materials. Use fiberglass fabric for the outer layer of the blanket as a filler to apply basalt fabric or glass wool inorganic category, and for stitching the product to apply aramid thread, which is characterized by non-combustibility. Manufacturing to start with the design of the product by creating a mold. To do this, you need to carefully measure the parameters of the underhood space. Create a mold from improvised materials. Initially, 3 ribs of the outer layer are sewn together, after which the stuffing is inserted inside and the last edge is stitched. To eliminate the possibility of knocking down the padding as a result of vibration during the operation of the machine, it is worth making a few more quilted lines on the area of the blanket. Thermal insulation qualities of a homemade blanket, even with such a professional approach to its manufacture, are significantly inferior to the properties of factory-made products, which positions the profitability of buying the latter. Let's summarize. Car blanket is a modern accessory for cars, which allows you to operate the vehicle in winter seasons in a gentle mode, protecting the engine from hypothermia and frequent cold starts, prolonging its working resources. When buying car insulator, give preference to high-quality, certified products, which, although they cost a little more, however, meet quality standards, guarantee reliability and safety of operation. In conclusion, selecting the right auto blanket for your car involves weighing both the operational advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, a high-quality blanket can provide essential warmth and comfort during cold weather, while also offering protection for your vehicle's interior. However, it's important to consider factors such as material durability, ease of maintenance, and cost-effectiveness. By understanding these peculiarities, you can make an informed choice that best suits your needs and enhances your driving experience. Remember, the right auto blanket not only serves a practical purpose, but can also add a touch of style to your vehicle. Thank you for watching, and we hope this guide helps you in your decision-making process.